everybody, Brett with Best of the West, Arizona. Got a couple of requests for some gun cleaning tips, so I'm going to do my best to run you through what I do here in the shop to get these guns all nice and cleaned up. So what we've got here is one of our Best of the West customs. This is a 6.5 PRC. As always, let's go ahead and make sure that we're safe. The bolt is out and we are unloaded, verified by looking down the bore of this gun. Let's talk about some of the equipment that we use, so I'm going to go through that as well. Cleaning rod here, really nice one. It's got the ball bearings on it, as you can see. Twists here, it all twists. This is from Tipton. They come in different sizes, so these are really nice ones. These are the ones that we use in the shop. Also have a bore guide here. This bore guide is going to go inside right here. Release that, and then that helps you make sure that you are centered on the center of the bore, so that way when you're putting your cleaning rod down, you're aligned and you're not causing any damage. So we'll take that out of here. We also have cleaning tools. Again, everything that we use is Tipton. This is a complete set, so it's got the brushes on one side and the jags on the other. And for this one, we've got a 6.5 PRC. So this is the brush that we're going to use. Here's the jag that we're going to use for it. The other things that we need are some patches. So these patches, I believe they're 1.5 inch cotton patches, and these are specific that fit a 6.5 PRC, 6.5 Creedmoors. Depending on what caliber gun you have, you may need a different size. For many of our 30 calibers, these 2-inch rounds work well. 30 caliber, 7 mags, 28 nozzlers, that kind of thing, these seem to work well, but they don't work so well inside the 6.5 calibers. They're just too big. So just make sure you're using the right size patch. Products that we use here in the shop are the KG products. This one here is KG1, the carbon remover. So that's going to get out most of the gunk and the carbon and the grime that's in your barrel after you've been shooting. KG4 here is the gun oil that we use. We use this very sparingly. We do not use a lot of oil, and I'll show you that here just a little bit later on. But when we do need it, this is what we use, the KG4. And then depending on what you're seeing out of your gun, you may have some residual copper in there that we need to remove. And so this is what we use here, the Sweet 762 solvent. This stuff is very toxic. Has a very strong smell of ammonia. Can only sit in your barrel for less than 10 minutes. 10 minutes is the max that I'll put it in there to sit and sort of get rid of some of that copper, and then we wipe it out with some clean pad. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into it. First thing we do, put the bore guide inside here, line it up, tighten that down, put a cleaning rag over the stock so that way nothing gets on the stock. We're going to put our jag on here first. Let's go ahead and screw that into. We're going to put a patch right over the top. Just put it on there and pop it down. And then we're going to use our carbon remover first. So we're just going to put that on here and just, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 or 5 drops on there. Go ahead and put this into the bore guide. You're going to feel it enter the throat chamber right there. And as straight as you can, just go ahead and push forward all the way until it comes out. You can see down here on this end, this is what came out of it. So we've got a little bit of carbon left on it. I don't see any blue. Blue is going to be a indicator of having some copper left in there. So I'm going to go ahead and throw another patch on here. Put a little bit more carbon remover. Just like that. Again, nice and slow. All the way through. That rod twists, your handle stays put. And you can see that time came out a little cleaner. We're going to keep going until it comes out even cleaner than that. Back in the bore guide, nice and slow. Now we're looking really good. You can see still a little bit of carbon on there, but definitely not as much as what we had the first couple passes. Put this guy on there. And then there you got it. Pretty clean. So last but not least, we're going to take a patch and just do a dry patch. Once we do our dry patch, that's just going to take out all the remainder and the residual of what's in that barrel. Looks really good. I'm going to do one more. Push it through. That looks pretty dang clean. So we're going to go ahead and take this out, remove our bore guide, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a little brush here. Even though this one looks dirty, I've cleaned it off before, it just looks bad. I'm going to clean the chamber right at the throat there. Just wander that around a little bit, clean that out of there. And then I'm going to take this little brush mop here and these little these little cotton swabs. Put that in here, and then fan out these little sides on here, so that way it looks like that. Put just a dab of carbon remover on one side. Go ahead and put it inside here and go all the way till it butts up against the chamber. Twist it a few times one way, a few times the other way. Back and forth inside there just a little bit. And you can see that we got a little bit of gunk on there. I'll do that one more time to get rid of any residual. Again, we're going to fan that out just a smidge. Put that on here. Turn it around one way, turn it around the other way, back and forth, and now that's looking pretty clean. Last thing that I'll do is I'm going to take a little bit of carbon remover on these big patches. Put some on there. Take my bolt. Just clean the bolt off. Get any residual gunk off the bolt here. Clean the face of it. Clean all the lugs. It all looks really good. So the one thing that we didn't see here was copper. So if you run your last patch through, or your dry patch, or if you have your patch with a little bit of carbon remover on there, and it comes out and you have either a lot or some tinges of blue, that means you've got some copper fouling in there. And it's really all dependent upon how your gun is performing. If your gun was shooting really nice at the start of season, and now you put 20, 40, 60, 80, 100 rounds through it, whatever the case may be, even in between cleanings, you may notice that copper build up to start forming, and now your groups may be opening up a little bit more. Maybe time to go ahead and do a copper clean on it. So basically it's the same steps as what we did through here, all the exact same things, except now what we would do is use this Sweets 762 solvent, and I'm not going to actually go through it because this gun doesn't need it. Essentially what we do is we put a brush, and that's one thing that we didn't do yet on this one. If the carbon was still showing up on this and we needed to break up a little bit more of that carbon, we just brush it a number of times on there. All we used was a jag and some patches, and it came out pretty clean because this gun wasn't that dirty. But if you run some patches through there and you got a bunch of carbon, go ahead and put this brush on here. Brush that through a number of times. You can even put some of the solvent directly on that brush. Brush it through, take this off, put this jag back on here, and then run some more patches through, and you're going to be pretty surprised how much more gunk comes out once you do that. So back to the copper. Basically go ahead and use a brush like this. Go ahead and go all the way through so that it's sticking out the end, on the very end of the barrel here, and then put some of the Sweets on that brush. Let it drip on there, drip off, pull it back through, and then give it maybe about 10 to 12 brushes forward and back, and let that sit for no longer than 10 minutes. No longer than 10 minutes. It's really important that you don't forget about it. So go ahead and brush it, and then you're going to go ahead and pull it out, and then run some patches through there, clean all that stuff out of there. Use some carbon remover to go ahead and do that, and then you're all set. So really that's about it. We went through how to, what tools that we use, the products that we use, all that kind of fun stuff. So if you have any more questions, don't hesitate to reach out. So if you remember earlier, we were talking about oil, and I said I was going to come back and we'll talk about that a little bit more. So with regard to oil, use oil sparingly. You don't need to oversaturate your barrel, and you don't need to oversaturate your bolt or any part of your gun. Use oil sparingly. I mean, we in the shop here, we get guns into the shop and they're just dripping. You know, it's probably an over exaggeration, but there's many guns that we get in the shop that really have an excess amount of oil in the barrel and in the action and coming off of the bolt and just everywhere. And that's not what we want. So let's use our oil sparingly, and I'll show you just a little bit about what we do. So what we do here is, again, like I told you, we're using the KG1, or I'm sorry, the KG4 gun oil. And when I say use it sparingly, I'm talking about just put about 3 or 4 drops. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's all you need right there, 4 drops. And so when we do 4 drops of this, and I put it into the bore guide here, and I just push it through, and I leave it just like that. Pull that out. That gun now, just by doing that, just for the barrel there, that's fine. Put the gun away. You don't need to do anything else with it. If you're done with it for the season, you're fine. Now, if you're gonna shoot it a little bit more, shoot it the next day, and you feel like you really want to oil the gun, you know, on a regular basis, that's fine. But do one more thing. So if you need to do exactly what we just did, take one more patch. We'll put that on there, and then just run that patch through. So we have a layer of oil on there, and now we just took a little bit of a lighter coat off of there. Still oiled, still protected, still good to go, but it's just a little bit less oil, right? Less is better in these situations. So that's how we're going to manage it for putting oil in the barrel. One patch, a few drops of oil, one time through, and then put the gun away for your season. If you're going to be out shooting it more, same process. 4 drops of oil right through the barrel, but then follow it up with a patch, a clean patch, run that through, and then next time you use it, you're going to be good to go. So that's the barrel. Now, the next thing that we'll do, we use a little bit larger patch, one of these larger patches, and we'll just put a few more drops of oil on there. And then we're just going to take the bolt and just give it just a quick once over. Shine it up just a little bit, get a nice protection layer on there, hit the lugs, and then wipe it off with a clean side of the patch. Now, it doesn't look like there's a tremendous amount of oil on it. It's nice and clean, but there is a level of protection on there that wasn't on there earlier. So that's all good. That's really all it comes down to. That's all that we're going to do for oil. We use oil very sparingly in the shop. We don't oversaturate it. So that's what we suggest for you too. Any other questions? Let us know.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, shoot us a like or comment. To keep up with the latest from Best of the West Arizona, subscribe to our channel and visit our website at bestofthewestarizona.com.